Good evening and welcome to Ask Mike Anything. Uh, this is the part of the show where I'm going to ramble on for a bit to double check and make sure that my audio is working correctly and giving you a chance to type in your questions. And I will do my best then to answer them. So I'm going to check the audio here real quick. Hey, look, it's working. All right. Type in. So yeah, go ahead. Hit me up with your questions. What do you got? Let me know. I'll take anything. I saw there was a comment from Katie Wagner on the actual the listing for this. Let me jump back to that real quick. I think it might have been a sarcastic kind of question, but I don't even know if I can find it now. Let's see. Katie Wagner, where is it? There it is. She says, why must I read commentaries for sermon prep when I'm so tired and need a nap? It's not a good combo. That's very true, Katie. Having to read long commentaries when you're tired is not a good combination. Typically, what I have learned, at least in the pandemic, where I don't have a whole lot of meetings I got to run to, is that during the day for sermon prep or whatever, if I'm getting tired, I'm gonna pop over into my my recliner and set an alarm and close my eyes for 20 minutes or so, just to give me that chance to reset and refresh. I know that can be tough depending on what's all going on in your house and who's all there and what's all happening. But with anything, that ability to step away from it for a bit, do something else, take a walk, take a quick nap is going to be very, very helpful. In fact, I was working on my sermon for Good Friday, and just really struggling. I was in the wrong headspace for it this morning. We got done with Fun with Faith. I had written a little bit before, and just after, I couldn't. I just couldn't. So we got done with Fun with Faith, and I went and I told everybody, hey, I'm sitting in my chair, I'm closing my eyes for 20 minutes. I set an alarm, and then I was better-ish. At least I could function. I could think again. So, yes, that's my dad there commenting that my man cave looks like a real cave. It's not really a man cave. It is my home office and studio. And I have studio lighting now so that I don't turn orange on the green screen anymore, which was just a weird thing that was happening. And on nights like tonight, I can throw in, color tiles and give it a little ambiance. So there you go. So hit me up with your questions. What do you got? If you ask me what's in the cup, you won't be disappointed. Sorry. All right, I'll ask myself what's in the cup. What's in the cup tonight is an old fashioned, but it's a twist on the old fashioned. It's called an almond old fashioned. Typically the old fashioned is going to be bourbon, simple syrup, bitters, some type of garnish. In this case, it's all of that plus some amaretto and then almonds in it, and it's delightful. So, yeah. Hit me up with the questions. I do have one question that got emailed in. Maybe I'll get to. Maybe I'll do that first, because that way, if he's not watching, he can get to it in the first few minutes of the episode here. So John Sapinen, who is the Heritage District lay leader, somebody I've worked with on the district for a couple of years now. Fantastic guy. Their church out at Marshall is getting a new pastor this year, and just happens to be friends of ours who are another clergy couple. And his question is, what advice do you have for a church that will be welcoming a pastor that is part of a clergy couple? And really, like, every couple is different. So that's what I'm going to start out by telling you. Every couple is different. How they decide where the kids go on Sunday morning is different. For Bree and I, initially it was wherever mommy goes, that's where they go, because she handled, feeding and things of that nature. As the kids got older, in particular, Michaela, she got older and could do bottle and regular food and that kind of thing. She would come with me. I was working as a youth pastor at the time, and there were, a few more youthy things, younger kids that age, at the church I was working at. Now, as we're going into a new appointment, as our kids are very much older, it becomes a question of where are they going to have the most options and opportunities? Where are the most other kids for them to engage with? Because our goal is always for our kids to not ever feel like the church stole their mom and dad. We know lots of pastors' kids who have expressed that over the years, that mom and dad would miss, soccer games or dance recitals because of finance meetings or trustees meetings. And so it's always been our goal to make sure that our kids never feel like the church is stealing mom and dad. So making sure you have boundaries like that is going to be helpful. Making sure that your particular clergy person, you can't do anything about their spouse. Their spouse isn't going to be in worship very often, if at all. Depending on the distance, you may do some joint things. We've done that a little bit here. But you're not going to have a whole lot of contact Sunday morning wise. But having events that are non-Sunday that can include both spouses, giving your pastor the ability to go and do things at her spouse's church are helpful. Giving room, giving grace, and just plain out ask. Ask them what they need. What's going to be best for them. I know for Bree and I, we like to do things together, ministry wise. It wasn't always that way. Pandemic has brought out a lot more of that. But the ability to work together is a good thing too sometimes. So I would say have that conversation. What do you need? Do you need to make sure there's childcare available? Is that going to be helpful? Do we make sure you get a date night? Whatever the case may be. It's important to just ask, because ultimately, pastors are people. Clergy couples have a little more hoops to jump through when it comes to scheduling things. But if you're able to be flexible and help your church and your leadership to be flexible, to make sure they get the time they need together, the time they need with family, all that kind of stuff, you should be okay. And knowing what I know about who your clergy couple is, John, I will tell you, I think they will be okay with setting boundaries. And so just listen when they do, and understand that that's not coming from a place of I have to demand blah blah. It's coming from a place of they're guarding themselves and their family and making sure that that things are going to be good. That everybody's going to get what they need. You are in for a treat with who's coming. The wonderful family. So, is your drink of choice a sponsor of Ask Mike Anything? No, it's not. It's just delicious. So there. Have you and Bree met your replacements? Will you? We have not. Nothing has been announced yet for either of our churches. We don't know exactly when that's going to be. We hope it will be soon, because we would very much like to be able to work with them in the transition. We're doing that now with our counterparts in Grand Rapids. And that has been overall a fairly good experience to be able to get to know some folks and have an idea of what to expect when we get there. But also, like, we have ministry going on here. Things we're hoping won't fall through the cracks. Things that, the more time we have with whoever is coming in, the better it'll be. So yes, we will meet whoever our replacements are going to be. When will that be? We don't know yet. Hopefully soon. Yeah. Matt Witkowski, what is your least favorite part of being a pastor? I don't know. So here's the thing. I know there are things that are easier to shove to the back burner than others. So one-on-one visitation, I love doing it. I love it when I'm there, when I get to it, whether it's someone in the hospital, a shut-in, those types of scenarios. I love doing it, but it's also one of those things that very easily gets put to the back burner. Sometimes it's because there are other things that demand my attention, and sometimes it's because it's one of the easier things to let slide a little bit. Making a phone call or writing a letter instead of going and doing a face-to-face kind of thing. So I wouldn't say it's my least favorite part, because I like it, usually any part of ministry. When I get there, I love it. Like I'll complain about, oh, we got to go to another meeting, or there's a mandatory clergy gathering again. Oh, this is horrible. And then I get there and I remember, oh, these are all my friends. Then it's a different thing, right? So there are things we can grumble about having to use our energy on, but really, being a pastor is my calling. Period. End of sentence. There are jobs that, like, you punch out, you're done. For me, I don't punch out. I can't. It's who I am. And so I may have areas that I am more passionate about, but I wouldn't say anything's my least favorite. Here, I'll tell you, statistical reports. Having to do end of the year statistical reports drives me insane. And it is my hope that that Trinity will have a wonderful array of people contributing to that, so I'm not having to do quite so much of it. All right, Dad. Do your current churches, the ones you're going to, have a COVID committee to discuss the transition back into in-person services? Not necessarily a COVID committee. I don't know about Trinity. I don't think they have like a named one. But I know they have folks that have those conversations. I know Bree's Church has one, but we do amongst the leadership have conversations about what things we need to have in place, contact tracing, all of those things for that transition back. And I'm going to tell you right now, the toughest piece for my current churches in a transition back to in person is the reality that we've been found by a lot of folks online who feel like they belong to the congregation, but maybe too far away to drive. And so continuing an online presence, continuing a virtual digital worship service is going to be important to do. And so the bigger piece for St. Matthew's and Cherry Hill is figuring out how to do that without me here. Because by and large, when it comes to the technology and how we're doing everything, it is very much on my the camera's mine, the lights are mine, the backdrops, the video editing, all of that kind of falls in my lap. And so in person either means you pre-record and have that go out at the same time as your service starts for those that aren't in person, or you have a live stream, which takes technology and some expertise, and as the pastor up front running that technology while doing the service is a bit of a juggling act. I've done it, not my favorite thing to do, but it's one of those things that's going to have to be looked at and taken into consideration. And part of what I just had a conversation with some folks. We haven't pushed the hey, let's get back in person button yet. Partially because things are spiking in Michigan again, as it's been throughout, and we don't want to. I don't want to do the roller coaster thing to people where, all right, we're going to go back in, we're going to figure this out, and oh, now we got to pull back, and okay, now we can go back in, and now we got to pull back. That's just very frustrating. Instead, I'd rather we embrace the reality that we're in, and when vaccinations are up enough, when numbers are down enough, bring it back in. But the other piece is I don't want to commit the new pastor, the incoming pastor, to something that they're not comfortable with. So I could get us back going live in person with a live stream, but that's still going to be my equipment, my expertise, my juggling. And that would set a precedent for them and an expectation for them I don't want to set. But once I know who they are, once we know who they are and what their capabilities are, I'll be able to help guide St. Matthew's and Cherry Hill in maybe purchasing pieces of equipment that will help them do the thing, and train some people in doing the thing. But I don't want to, jump the gun on that. Yep. Matt says Trinity has a governance board that watch COVID and are doing the steps back to in person. And I know, I know there's been talk of some dates or some outdoor things, and that's all good. We're planning some outdoor things here. It's just important that we watch these things and not set unrealistic expectations. I believe the church is stronger, not just Trinity, not St. Matthew, but the church is stronger than the pandemic. And I believe the congregations are stronger than the pandemic too. As you know, I have problems with mobility. Your online presence has brought God on into my life, more important than my life. Thank you for that, Dad. I'm glad. I really am. This has been one of those things, right, where we've been able to reach more people and interact with more people via the internet. Something I remember a time being in churches who thought the internet was the devil, and in some ways it still is, but it is this beautiful tool where we can connect in ways we couldn't before. I was talking to people on a Zoom earlier tonight. Pre-recording, I get everything pre-recorded and done and uploaded and ready to go live at 11 on Sunday morning. I get all that done. Typically I'm shooting for by like 5 o'clock on Saturday. Having all of that put together, all the music, everything else. And once that's done, it gives me a chance to breathe. Like there isn't the anticipation of Sunday morning, who's going to be there, and what happens if the technology whatever. It's uploaded, it's ready to go, it's going to do its thing, and people are going to be able to engage in that. And I can engage in it too. I was telling folks earlier, I love being able to laugh at something silly I did, a joke I made in the sermon, something it brings me joy to do that. I look forward to in person. I look forward to being with people again. Absolutely. But there's a piece of this that's nice and different, and I hope we can figure out how to incorporate some of it. Like, for instance, I for Easter Sunday, I have friends all over the world, and I messaged up a friend in Israel, in Jerusalem, and said, "Hey, I was thinking, since I'm doing these pre-recorded services, it would be really great if I had the gospel lesson for Easter Sunday read at the Garden Tomb, right? This place where they believe Jesus was buried. How cool would that be if someone is reading that passage from that place for us that morning?" And he was like, "I'm on it." And then we find out the Garden Tomb is currently closed due to COVID. But yeah. So, but there are things like that can happen. I had my friend Assam from Egypt read some scripture about Jacob earlier in the pandemic. This has been an opportunity to reach out. I've had friends from Palestine who have watched and interacted from time to time, and it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And like I said, hopefully, due to the technology we have available, I'm hoping we can still do some things like that. Like, I know St. Matthew's and Cherry Hill have big screen TVs in their sanctuaries, and I know Trinity has screens. So maybe that'll still be possible. Maybe it's just this is the time where we started thinking this way a little more, that we can project up on the screen the person from Israel at the Garden Tomb kind of deal. So yeah. Other questions? I do have some cards ready, so I'll use those while you're typing stuff. I am out. My journal, my 9 and 10, or my 10 and 11-year-old journal, or 11 and 12, whatever it is done. So I'm going to have to consider what comes next with that, because there's a big jump. I didn't really write in high school, but by the time I get to writing at the end of high school and into college, it's very much a different tone. I've started reading through some of them, and I don't know how I feel about that. Though I did find, when I started Bible college, I decided to write a summary of my teenage years, and it's very obvious that I was in my evangelical conservative Christian mindset, and was writing like I thought I was the next Apostle Paul. It's shockingly bad. And maybe someday I'll share it with people in person, but I don't know if I'm gonna put it on the internet. But I have decided I'm going to take that. It's like a little 10-page summary that I wrote. I have decided I'm going to take that and in my current journal, kind of write a critique of it. Just, roast myself a bit. Matt says, where can more impact be made in ministry? In a church filled with engaged believers, or a room filled with unbelievers? It depends on your definition of impact. So a church filled with engaged believers should be out in rooms filled with unbelievers. Is kind of my thinking on this. If the goal with ministry is simply to put butts in the pews, you're not gonna succeed at making disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. It's not gonna happen. You can put butts in seats by having a phenomenal praise band that does the music like the young kids. Like, you can bring in people. There are always gimmicks and marketing to bring in people to put butts in seats. It's there. But to make a real impact, it's about leaving the building. It's about going outside and finding people where they are, meeting them where they are, like Jesus did. And not hitting them over the head with the Bible, and not telling them you need to come to church to be a good person, and not even telling them you need to believe in Jesus to be a good person. But meeting them where they are, seeing their physical need as well as their spiritual need, and getting involved where they are. Buildings are great for housing programs, for getting things going if we need a place to put stuff. But there's also a lot of places where we can engage in ministry and not have to have the doors of the building open at all, with the goal of simply engaging with people. So a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to do pub theology. And I did the typical thing that you would do, right? I said, okay, this is what we're doing, churches. We're going to meet at this place at this time, and we're going to talk about theology. And we had a good turnout from the church for the most part. Maybe a dozen people showed up, and I had, cards printed out with the questions on them for people to think about. And we're going to engage in this conversation. And my head was like, yeah, this is kind of the right place to be, right? We're out, but people can hear us talking about Jesus, and this is going to be a good thing, right? But what I found was, like, the congregations I'm a part of, we very much think along the same lines. There isn't a whole lot of disagreement. There wasn't a whole lot of pushback. And it was just a whole lot of, what do you think about this? Oh, yes, I think the same thing. And it kind of, and a couple weeks into that, I got a message from a Presbyterian pastor in the area. I didn't know him, but he's like, hey, I'm doing a thing like that too. We should meet. And we both happen to be members of Planet Fitness. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's meet. And I'm thinking, hey, cool, I'm going to meet a guy that's passionate about the same things as me. And I come to find out, like, I go into that meeting like, all right, we're going to talk and we're going to exchange ideas. And for him, he was going in like, I'm going to stomp on this dude because, like, he's invading my territory. Because that's just the way Presbyterians think. Just kidding, but I hope you're listening, Dan. So I go. Mine was on a Wednesday night. His was on a Tuesday night. I go to the one he was just starting on Tuesday nights, and the people around the table weren't members of his church. They were just people from, met in the coffee house, heard about this kind of thing. And very quickly it went to, I was doing both of those, to shutting down the Wednesday night, inviting Wednesday night folks to Tuesday. And it, there were nights we had 30 people around that table, multiple tables. And there were nights that it's 6 or 8 of us. And it's not pub theology. Theology is not the topic. The topic is pretty much anything in life and in the world, which could include theology. And oftentimes we went there because a couple of us there were pastors. But for the most part, it's talking about life, about how we engage, how we treat people, how we all of those pieces, right? And it became very much one of the best worship experiences of the week for me. And we weren't singing songs, we weren't reading scripture, we weren't praising Jesus, we weren't having a prayer time. This was just, we sit down and we talk, but we have this fellowship, this community, and these discussions about things that matter. And we said things that matter, things that you can't talk about in polite company. And it became, and still is, even though we're not meeting in person or even on Zoom right now, but it became this wonderful community. We did Dan's congregation and mine did toy collections, food collections, things for the Hope Clinic in the area. Different drives for different things. And some of the most gung-ho people to help with that, to donate to that, were folks from our pub theology group. This group full of people we would probably classify as unbelievers, agnostics, atheists, Buddhists, all sorts of different folks, who looked at the Hope Clinic, which is very much an ecumenical Christian organization, but said that's doing good work. There's a medical clinic and a dental clinic, and people can wash their clothes, and there's food pantry, and people can go get, there's a Christmas shop every year pre-COVID where people can go and get new toys and clothes and things for gifts for their loved ones for Christmas. And so they got behind that. We started doing, because they had enough toy and donations and things at Christmas, what they didn't have was hygiene and cleaning supplies that people needed, is we started doing, we were doing a white elephant gift exchange just for the fun of it at Christmas. We changed it to a different system where it's bringing in cleaning supplies, wrapped cleaning supplies, and everything had different points allotted to it, and you could still switch like white elephant, but whoever had the most points at the end of the night won, right? And not anything serious, like $5, whatever. But it was just, it's still community, and it very much felt like I was engaging Christ in a very real way, where people were. One of the best Christmas services for me in my life was one we held, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before, in the same pub where we do Out on Tap. It's one of those things. So if I'm going to choose where I think more impact can be made by engaged believers, it's definitely going to be in a room outside the church, filled with whoever's there. So, The Voice or American Idol. I'm probably going to have to go The Voice, even though I don't watch really either of those shows. I think like the last thing I watched was part of a season of The Masked Singer. I don't even know which one. But every once in a while, Brie and Grandma make me watch it. Or I come home early. I would come home early from something when there were things to come home early from, and they would be watching it and I'd have to watch it. Same thing with Dancing with the Stars. I just got to learn to stay out later when, All right. Other questions? I'm going to hit a card. You guys type them in. Let's see. What is the weirdest thing that you find attractive in a person? So I'll tell you the weirdest thing I found attractive in Brie. And it probably goes the same for other people. So when Brie and I first met, I wasn't even sure women could be pastors. She had just finished seminary. was kind of intimidated by her. Not kind of, I was intimidated by her. And I finally, and it's a long story, I can tell you another time, but finally got up the nerve to ask her out. We went out to dinner. I am shaking in my boots, nervous. And we're partway through dinner. And she cussed. Now, her mom was my kindergarten teacher, my pre-kindergarten teacher. And as far as I know, to this day, like, hasn't cussed a day in her life. And so to hear Bree cuss was very shocking. But it also knocked down that intimidation notch just enough that I'm like, oh, she's a real person. So yeah, that was, it was weird for me that I found cussing in her attractive. But it's also true. So I had a friend when I was up in Tawas who told me a story about the current pastor at the at that point current pastor at Tawas, and how he went in to meet in his office with him, and the pastor just offhandedly used a cuss word. And this person told me how, like, he got so upset because his pastor doesn't cuss, not my pastor. And it was really standoffish and really awkward. For me, the opposite is the same. Language is language. Like, I'm not going to cuss in a sermon. I'm not going to cuss in the sanctuary. Not going to happen. I'm probably not going to cuss in any official meeting of the church. But if we're out having coffee, if we go out and get a beer, yeah, it's probably going to happen. And not because of anything other than, you know, I'll use it because I think it's funny. I'll use it because it's part of language, to accent something. Yeah. And just, yeah. So I remember the first and last time I think I posted an actual cuss word on Facebook, my dad kind of yelled at me, and so I changed it. And that was like in the last year. So I'm cognizant of the fact that for some people it's an issue. But for me, I have this belief that everybody uses cuss words, even if it's just in our head. And so why not be honest about it? Yeah, we have some worries about that with our kiddos, that they may someday use that in the wrong setting. But at the same time, when I was a kid, if I said a bad word, I got my mouth washed out with soap. I had to hold the bar in or take a bite or get it plastered on my tongue. I don't know that we've ever done that for a cuss word. For the kids, language like that is, I don't think something needs to be punished. Definitely needs to be taught where and when, and to who, but not like that. So, what are you binge watching now? What was your favorite program that you binge watched? I don't know if I could pick an absolute favorite. One I want to get back to, that I just did the last few episodes of recently, was Supernatural. Like, the first couple seasons of that show are really rough, but then it gets really good and fun, and they make fun of themselves, and I like that. Right now, though, I'm watching Suits. It used to be on like USA Network when that was a thing. I don't know if that's still a thing. I don't watch regular TV. But I had put it off. It looked kind of but now I'm kind of into it. I like the characters. I like the fast talk. but it's also one of those where there is a whole lot of reality that I have to suspend. Right. But I like shows like that where I need to I need to enter into a different universe to watch it and have it make sense. Um, so so Suits is a good one. It's on Amazon Prime, I think. I think is where I'm watching that. Supernatural is on Netflix, and yeah, like I said, Supernatural is so good, and it ended way better than I thought it was gonna. Like sometimes when a show knows the end is coming, um, they'll like do the Hail Mary and try and leave a cliffhanger, maybe, so they get picked back up. But like they close this out really good. Matt, yes, I am a Walking Dead fan, but like a lot of Walking Dead fans, I think after season 8, it stopped being appointment TV for me. It used to be. It used to be Sunday nights. My family went to bed early because none of them watch it. Um, but yeah, now when a season comes out on Netflix or whatever, I'll binge watch through it and stay caught up. Yeah, and I hear it's ending. I really hope they resolve the Rick question. But even if they don't, it'll be all right. Question: do you know why the French only eat one egg at breakfast? All right. I should have known better than to click on that. Thanks, Dad. Other questions? All right. So here's another one from the card. Would you rather appear as a guest on your favorite TV show or have lifetime backstage passes for any concert you attend? I'm going to go with the lifetime backstage passes for any concert I attend. I don't attend a lot of concerts. I've done more than enough damage to my hearing, I guess, but a lifetime backstage pass to meet whoever the band is, way better than like just getting on my favorite show once. And then I'd have to pick a favorite show, and I probably couldn't do that. And then I'd pick my favorite show, and it would probably be a show that's done, like they're not making anymore. So. Or like I'd pick The Walking Dead, but they'd make me a zombie. And, what fun's that? Best men's ministry you've ever seen. Where was it? I've had a couple of good groups in my time. And what was most notable about them and why I really liked them was because they were small. It was very much if you know Wesleyan kind of society kind of stuff. You have band meetings, class meetings, and society meetings, and these were much more in the band level. 4 or 5, maybe 8 guys. Sharing prayer requests, praying for each other, reading and discussing scripture together, that kind of thing. I've been to kind of the bigger things. Way early on, I did a bunch of Promise Keepers stuff, which, you get people in a stadium event, anything's going to be fun for the most part. But that's just too big. It's too much. What I don't like about men's ministry is when it gets into when it plays into the toxic masculinity of it all. When it goes into the whole, you have to be the head of your house, and the umbrella of Christ and the husband and the family. I think that that plays into some paradigms that aren't very healthy. So typically, like I haven't pushed for a men's prayer ministry or meeting or anything like that since I've been in Ypsilanti and Canton. What I was shooting for a while, but it was one of those things I was hoping for it to start from within the laity of the church and not just be a thing I do. Was a regular prayer meeting, a time to gather that's not Sunday, small group prayer, share, and it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be exclusive by gender. Anybody could come. But with the point of we are going to share our prayer requests, share our hearts, maybe read some scripture and talk about it, but just have this time that is focused around scripture and prayer. And it's still one of those things I would like to do. But I don't like saying, oh, it's got to be a men's thing. I don't object to it if it already exists, if it's already a thing, say at Trinity. I don't have a problem with it. But a second. But it's not one of those things I'm gonna if it's something that needs to be started up, I don't know that I'm down for that. I would rather do a anybody can come prayer ministry, prayer and Bible study kind of deal. So, but as far as where was it? Actually, the best one was in a United Methodist Church in my hometown, the one Bree and I got married in, where her stepdad was the pastor at the time. That was a very nice, committed group of dudes. There wasn't at least as far as I can remember, there wasn't a whole lot of the toxic masculinity, control your wives kind of stuff. So I really remember enjoying that, and getting lots of good prayer and good advice from people. All right. Any other questions? All right. Another card. Has anyone ever started a rumor about you? If so, what was it about? So, not so much a rumor. It was a truth, but it was a truth that was told to somebody in confidence that wound up that person trying to use it to get me fired. So, back in one of my youth pastorates, I had realized I was starting to struggle with some depression. And I was, seeing a counselor and talking to a doctor and looking at medication, all that stuff. And I shared that with a person that I thought was a friend. And the next thing I know, it's coming up at a staff parish meeting, and the question of whether they should fire me or not because I have depression is just ridiculous. Thankfully, I had a wonderful senior pastor that stood up for me. But yeah, so it wasn't necessarily a rumor because it was true, but it was also something that wasn't supposed to be out in public knowledge at that point. And it was still in a time when the idea of depression and seeing a counselor was still a little not mainstream, not accepted. Daddy, my daddy, who does your makeup? Your nose is shiny. Nobody does my makeup. That is the new studio lighting. So thanks for that. All right. Any other questions, folks? Some of you posted questions. Well, Katie posted a question pre-start. That was good. You can do that. You can always do that. You can also email me like John did. I answered his question earlier on. So feel free to do that or type them in now or next week. I do want to let folks know Palm Sunday is this coming Sunday, and it's going to be a very different service. It's going to be a Stations of the Cross service. If you've ever been a part of a Passion Palm Sunday service, it's going to incorporate a lot of the Holy Week experience that some folks aren't able to attend. And this is also, there's one of the readings, and it will carry over into Easter. So there will be some of that, but it's very much a reflective, contemplative kind of thing. There will be some music, but you do need, if you want to fully participate in that service, you're going to want to have a few things handy, and I'm going to tell you what those are right now. You're going to need a candle and a way to light it, a piece of paper and something to write with, a small bowl of water, a salt shaker or a pinch of salt, and the Stations of the Cross reflection booklet that I have. If you need that and you don't have that, I sent out our master email list went out on Saturday, and I included it. But if you need it, I can get it to you. There's a PDF that's printable and a PDF that is you can just use digitally. But those are things you will need for that service. I'm sure you can enjoy it without those things, but as a contemplative service goes, it'll be a better experience if you do that. Katie wants to know, how do you get your mojo back when you're exhausted and burned out and overwhelmed? Well, I never have that problem, Katie. Just kidding. No, that's Katie, it's a matter of what do you do to charge your batteries regularly? Sometimes you just have to step away from whatever it is that's burning you out. And if you're talking full on clergy burnout, Katie, that's a bigger conversation. But if you're talking, I'm just burnt out this week, stop what you're doing, rearrange the schedule, and do something that's going to breathe life into you. Sometimes it's as simple as going for a walk. Sometimes it's as simple as a nap. Sometimes it's one of the things I like to do, have done during the pandemic, is I will throw the girls in the car, especially in nice weather, like today. And maybe I'll do this week because it's just sounding like fun. Throw the kids in the car, crank up a playlist with some good music, roll the windows down, drive to Starbucks, get them their double chocolate chip frappuccinos, and get myself a nice refreshing Starbucks beverage, and just drive. We'll drive back roads, county roads, whatever we can find, listening to music, filling ourselves up with just that. Stepping away from it. We have this notion within the way we think of things, I guess. We have this notion that we have to complete the task at hand. Even if we're overwhelmed, even if we just get through it, it'll be better. And the truth of the matter is, you may have a little bit of can breathe again. That one task is done, but the next task is going to also overwhelm and burn out and exhaust you. And so taking that time, that whether it's a 10-minute walk, half-hour car ride, it's going to be a thing to do. Take that little bit of time. It's the same. For me, it's the same principle as studying, right? They tell you study for a half hour, after a half hour, your studying starts to decline. We'll stop, take a 5-minute break, do something for yourself. And then you come back and you're okay. And you do that other half hour, you take another break. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with our work. Take that break your mind from it when you're feeling overwhelmed. I mentioned it earlier. I was invited to do a 7 last word service with 6 other pastors, all of whom I highly respect and have no idea how in the world I got selected to be in that group. And that's been in my head ever since it happened. Like these are the people, the vast majority of these other 6 people are people I look up to a whole lot. And so for me, it was, oh my gosh, I'm preaching alongside these people. It's pre-recorded all, but I'm preaching alongside these people. I am one of the words in these 7 last words, right? And it's all in my head. I know a lot of you, everybody has experienced this at some point, this imposter syndrome where you really are qualified to do what you do, but you just think that you aren't. And so that's happening. And like, I want to fit, I eat all this stuff. And I have wonderful people in my life who are like, no, just be you. You got asked because you're you and do you. And so all of this stuff is just coming. And, so I took a nap earlier today. I wrote, I did Fun with Faith, and I'm like, you know what? I can't write anymore. I'm going to take a nap. And then I ate lunch and I got Braley from school and still struggling. So I called a friend. Actually, one of those friends that I admire a whole lot. And he's like, well, what do you got? And I said, well, this is what I got. He's like, holy crap, I wish I was preaching that, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. And so I typed that up a little more, but I'm still feeling it. And it's a beautiful day out. And I hear Braley is getting dolled up as a princess and wants to do a photo shoot. And so I'm like, I'm just going to take a break and I'm going to go do photos of Braley as a princess. So here we go. I'm gonna give you this right here. I'm gonna do photos of Braley as a princess. Look at that. We shot like 100 photos of Braley as a princess. And then just before dinner, they were like, oh, we're gonna go for a walk, maybe go to the park for a little bit. We had an hour before dinner. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. And then we'll get back to finishing things up. But those kinds of things that breathe life into you are the things you need to do when you're burned out, when you're exhausted, when you need to get your mojo back. So many things in life take stuff out of us. You know what it is that breathes life into you. So when you're in the midst of exhaustion, burnout, being overwhelmed, go stop whatever that is and go to the things that breathe life into you. That's where you go for that. That's how you get your mojo back. Because life is not about work. Life is about life. And yes, we have to work in order to maintain that life, but it's about the life. So do that. And I'm very, very sorry to hear about the 5 feet of water in your basement and the car repairs. I don't know if you know, it's not last year, but the year before. Yeah. Not last year, but the year before Holy Week. Like Monday, my engine blew. And like Monday, Thursday, we were buying a new car. It was horrible. So yeah, I feel you on that, Katie. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. I hope this was helpful for you all tonight. Keep thinking up questions. I'll keep coming back with Ask Mike Anything Mondays at 7:00. Please also join us for Fun with Faith Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Those things are also up like all the time after that. So you can watch them late. It's okay. You don't have to watch it live. Although it is fun getting to see when we have technical difficulties. We had some of those this morning. All right. With that, friends, know that I love you. I care about you, and I pray for you often. And know that God loves you, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Peace.